bottomless pit like on Nepal. I think they would raise the stakes of this map a little bit.
Is it a Zen garden or is it like a kid's play thing? Like what kind of sand pit is it?
I'll tell you what is a play thing right now. Xinjiang Bao playing the Sombra against Giant Lynx is kind of like a kid playing with a toy almost. We'll see if he can get the same value he has gotten throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, or is it a kid in a candy store? Kind of hard to tell sometimes. Yeah, why not both? Exactly. A candy store really is just a kind of kid's playground. It's just one that the parents have to pay for. And that's going to be the first rotation from KIX, largely unanswered. Even a long outward rotation from WuSik that goes completely unpunished. And
I think with the Winston-based composition that you have from Giant Lynx, they need to start applying pressure. They need to start really getting it in.
Unfortunately, though, Rodtung's just taken so many chunks on his way there and didn't really get anyone low enough to stick, and that means KIX on the point. Suddenly, Giant Lynx are the ones who look like they're attacking. They are going to get back on towards the point and do find Jazzy. That's more or less what they need. They get Casper as well before they lose one of their own. And that does mean they've got the leg up on KIX here. They should be able to hold on with this defense, but KIX got a decent bit of progress on that point before that.
Yeah, it was a slow approach by Giant Lynx, but they eventually do get that fight win, and now they push KIX backwards. KIX do get to walk back in with an EMP afterwards, but like you mentioned, one tick's already off the board, so in a way, KIX got the damage done. They got that, they got that first tick in there. They got something off that fight loss.
Now Giant Lynx, they need to just be a little bit more slicker on the up play.
It's another free rotation.
Yeah, here we go. They're just getting onto the point, already putting pressure down. EMP as well. Preempting, but not getting too many members, and that means Panny can respond to it. Rodtung able to get aggressive with a Primal Rage. They found WuSik, and this is a decent start for Giant Lynx. This is where they've struggled to win fights in the past when KIX have a lot of ultimates, and they themselves only have a few. The fact that they were able to get enough picks there is a good sign.
This is where we're starting to question KIX because they have Transcendence, they have Sound Barrier, they have staying tools as well as fight-winning tools. Graviton Surge, which then charges up the Earth Shadow for WuSik. They have 5 other ultimates basically to fight with, and yet they actually decide to take a reset there, which is super strange.
Now there's the rotation. Half the team caught up in that grab. Counter Shatter gets Bello. Casper dies though. In spite of that Transcendence, Bello stays alive for a while, but not too much longer as WuSik able to pick those ones up. This isn't a numbers advantage now for KIX. They're just going to rotate into the point. Sound Barrier here for Rocket when they need it. They're losing a lot of kill pressure. Bravelav does go down, so baby steps for Giant, but they lose Rocket and suddenly it's looking rough. That was the only ultimate they really had. They needed that staying power because they were at a numbers deficit. But KIX are going to be able to steal that one through. 130 on the clock as they capture that, leaves them 530 to capture point B.
And 73% on the EMP as well. Not too much on the side of Giant Lynx. Rocket's going to have to be ready to make some counter plays available. A slower push than what we've seen from KIX previously in the series, but it's Giant Lynx maybe starting to really wake up now late into the series, but better late than none.
Gonna be honest, I've spent most of this series so far trying to figure out a pumped up KIX joke, and it's just not coming. But they are gonna get their way onto the point. Giant Lynx still holding on to that Sound Barrier. It's all they've really got to go on though. And Shadow from WuSik, not the hottest. There's that Sound Barrier cancelled out by the EMP for the most part, but Pannies was still there with a Transcendence to keep these members in the fight. Unfortunately, it's not quite working because Rocket is out of the fight. Now Rodtung's out of the fight, Bumbarapa as well. Saijin God soon to follow, and Pannies is going to be corralled straight back into spawn. KIX looking like they want to secure this in one fight.
Yeah, it's a free EMP, free Graviton Surge, free just about everything right now. Should be a one-fight victory. A few more members coming through. Maybe if Rodtung can really stall this one out with the Primal Rage, enough Giant Lynx members can flood back in.
He has actually stalled for quite a while, and it is enough time to get some members on the point, but they're still at that numbers deficit. They're still not in a good position. Even with that grab out, couldn't get any follow-up thanks to the Sound Barrier. And look at how much charge Bravelav has. He just puts so much damage out and charges up new grabs so quickly. Not even Bello on his legendary Doomfist is able to beat back the inexorable tide of KIX there.
Well, that picks about a season late for Bello, unfortunately, and in this current series, they had a little bit of that stall power towards the end there, but they needed to get the counter trades. It's not important. It's not just about having the players able to contest a point, but as a defensive team, if you are not getting picks against that offensive team, who are then able to, because they are currently winning, rotate into the other ultimates, that's a big problem. They got to pick onto Arbel eventually, who had a Sound Barrier, but by that time, KIX basically just capped out. Not a super quick time, but 4:07. To be honest, within the grand scheme of things, is still a very, very respectable time. In fact, it's a 1 attempt on to B, so couldn't ask for too much better.
Something. It's only that much. 4:07 on the clock. You'd be well pleased with that. Now KIX just need to get themselves a solid defense in. And they did full hold on King's Row. A bit of a different kettle of fish to full hold on Assault, especially Hanamura. So we'll see how Giant LYNX fare. They have struggled to cap this point in the past, though.
You could argue they full held on Gardens as well for Lee Jung. They technically had that cap the entire time, did not give it away. Giant LYNX currently potentially thinking about a quad DPS lineup. Rocket on the Mercy, Rodtongue on the Wrecking Ball as well. The KIX gonna play the same, and it's gonna be up to KIX to see what kind of punish they have. If they can get a hack onto Rodtongue as he dives in, Casper then follows up with a shield bash. That's Rodtongue out of the mix super early. That's gotta be KIX's game plan once they see what the offense looks like.
So it does look like they want to commit to this. Only change from what they were hovering is they are, of course, going to run a Pharah alongside that Mercy rather than an Ashe. And actually, even Rodtongue, he is deciding to the Wrecking Ball.
There it is.
Oh, there's
Bello.
Sheng Bao has already kind of revealed himself, and yeah, Bello getting a little low. That means Rocket has to try and come to his rescue.
And a big part of this, big problem with this tech so far is they haven't really opened up the point yet. Bello's across the gate, I suppose, but the rest of Giant LYNX needs to be able to push forward as well. Really surround that KIX defense. That's when the quad DPS will shine.
Exactly. You want Bello on one side, you ideally want Panties on another, with Saijin God kind of locking down that central sight line. But Bumbarapa getting a little caught on that flank. Yeah, hacked out for one thing and then finished off. And now Panties as well isolated on the other side of that flanking maneuver. Just makes it that much harder for Bello and Saiyajin God to make up for the dead members.
It's a soft reset already. A couple members being kind of caught out here by Giant LYNX. As soon as Bello goes down, Rocket's probably going to have to run off the edge or attempt to get back to his own team. Barely does so.
Yeah, but I mean, it still ends up being a stagger of sorts. Like, that was just as Panties and Bumbarapa had respawned, and they would actually get back quite quick. So Bello dying really slows them down.
The bigger issue here is KIX are going to come up to ultimates pretty soon, and Bello's been pretty slow on the ult charge comparatively when you consider that most Pharahs versus a kind of Goats-esque kind of comp here from KIX, you'd expect the Rocket Barrage to already be available.
Jazzy takes some pain, but he's going to be just fine. No one's there to follow up. Hack on Bello. He is going to be safe for now, but only barely. Now with the Emperor's side, they do know where Sheng Bao is. Makes it harder for him to connect in an EMP, but still it's actually Giant LYNX that are the ones taking the pain. I mean, you'd think with quad DPSs, these health bars would be the opposite way around. It'd be KIX constantly low, but it's Giant LYNX who are always at risk of losing members.
And I'll tell you what, you can't get an EMP out if you're gone, and that's Panties' gameplay so far. Sheng Bao now looking for something. If he only gets a couple of members versus quad DPS, because they're very squishy DPS members, they're gonna go down. You don't need 6-man coverage with this EMP. You just need a couple of good members.
Well, there's an Earth Shatter, and indeed the Earth is shattered, or rather Giant LYNX are shattered. Both spiritually and physically, it seems, because they just have no life in them as they're making this approach time and time again, continuing to make no headway.
And the other thing is, Sheng Bao's done such a great job of just shutting down Bello, and by shutting down, I mean getting him hacked out, forcing him to stay on the ground, not allowing him to do a lot of poke damage, and Bello is still searching for that Rocket Barrage, and that could be the win condition, but so far for Giant, just a slow start, not a lot of action.
Finally an EMP available for Panties as well. It's been a long time coming. That's something they want to try and layer up with that Rocket Barrage, ideally, but there's that kind of EMP that can come in from Sheng Bao, so they've got to be careful how they deploy this.
Yeah, it's not even just that, it's also the fact that you got Transcendence.
Yeah, although they do deploy it though, and this does actually go off to good effect. Unfortunately, Bumbarapa does not quite get out of that one alive, but Giant LYNX, even with the counter EMP, they're able to outlast that one, and they had enough kills that they weren't at major risk of dying. Nice bump off the edge, forces to translocate, and one final rocket will do the trick, and this is going to be Giant LYNX at long last cracking through point A.
And they do get past a couple of ults there as well. KIX invested the Transcendence and their own EMP. Giant LYNX likely going to have to swap off this composition. You don't really expect a bunch of DPSs going on to be successful. A full round of swaps, all 6 members, means fresh round of ultimates starting at 0%. KIX, they got more to work with, and that's going to be important.
I do agree with the change, though, here for Giant LYNX. They didn't exactly preserve a lot of ultimates from that last fight, and I don't know that you'd really want to try and run quad DPS into this 4th point, so they've got a bit of time still to rebuild ultimates.
Ravalav, the one that has to get a decent amount of work here done. Has to watch out for Saiyajin God, but otherwise, they got other options. Earth Shatter available as well. It's up to Giant LYNX to do something because time's running out.
Okay, Saiyajin God looked to go around the outside, and well, it didn't really do much for them. He just kind of came into the grab from the opposite angle. And that is going to be a pretty clean, quick fight win for KIX on the defense.
And that's exactly the kind of ultimate you want to use. Just one grab, nothing else needs to be invested there. Charge up the rest of your ults on the other members. Bravula gets the grab up, gets himself another 22% on top of that one. And Giant LYNX, it's just a charging round for them. It's just a bit of a sacked fight, bit of a dry run, if you will. Just trying to get something ready for this next engagement.
The only unfortunate thing, though, is, I mean, look at how long it took them to charge up ultimates when they were running the quad DPS on the initial attack. Like, they have taken a long time to charge up ultimates. Yes, this is a rebuilding phase for them, but it's still taking uncomfortably long.
It's going to take them a bit longer once this EMP does come through, and they might not even need to use it.
That's disgusting. The fact that KIX are able to hold on to that as well. And again, this is Giant LYNX not really making a whole lot of headway in terms of charging up ultimates. Rodtongue does finish up his, Panties finishes up his, but they're still just lacking in so many other tools, and they're not exactly getting ultimates out of KIX.
And that's the important part to note, because part of charging your own ultimates in this rebuilding of the ult charge phase is also getting ultimates out of the opposing team, such that you will eventually have that ult advantage. And because Giant LYNX just don't get really anything, they don't get the EMP notably, that's the big one you want off the table, they still have to play in it. And Giant LYNX, if they do get their own ultimates, it's not going to matter if they get connected by the EMP.
All right, KIX, what's your next trick? That didn't really work.
Bunch of hacks. I suppose.
I get it. Sheng Jianbao, there's that hack onto Rodtongue once again. And he's unfortunately gets found out by WuSik. Rocket's isolated on the point, and Giant LYNX are going to see if they can rotate their way out of this, but it's very unlikely. Rodtongue's obviously down. Boombarap, but Bello takes a dive. No one else gets out.
And the craziest thing is, the first hack came out onto Rodtongue, but it was both the supports from Giant LYNX that actually went down. Rocket tried to get a boop around the side. That trick just isn't going to work against KIX. Unfortunately, they spot him out. They take him down 2. Panties, super early death there. Once again, KIX don't have to use much. The rally, well, that's a free ultimate. The other 5 are basically there now. WuSik nearly on the other shatter.
Now again, same kind of rotation. There's that same hack. I mean, it's just so predictable. And Earth Shatter to come out because the shield is out of the picture. I'm not even sure if that was an Earth Shatter. It might have just been some stuns. At any rate, they looked immobilized and inert. Surgeon God does get back in the mech. They finally start fighting back. The grab to come out. Self-destruct laid in though. Surgeon God gets 2 with it. That's notable, that is important. And finally, Giant LYNX have found something with which to play Dam Busters here.
And the mistake there is, the EMP was the one ult that wasn't committed. This could be it.
They're going to be able to stall the point. They do at least get back on here. Now the Wrecking Ball to come out. The EMP, Sheng Jianbao died mid-channel. That means it's not even going to be a factor, even if he comes back into this fight later. And now KIX getting a taste of their own medicine as they flood out of spawn, finding themselves picked up. Good sleep on Bravula gives them plenty of time to address these other members. But Giant LYNX are actually having a hard time finishing off these members. They do get Casper at last, but they're traded out for Panties. And okay, they get on top of Jazzy. That was going to be important. If they did let him go on for too long, they could have started turning things around. But Giant LYNX, even with losing a couple of members here and there in that prolonged skirmish, are looking like they'll get that next round of kills to finish off this fight. Solo grab on Casper to make sure it sticks, and we are going to time back.
KIX hand-delivered that victory over. They had the EMP straight to start with. They used every single ult except that one, and then when they finally decided, here comes the EMP, shutdown coming through. Sheng Jianbao does not even get to channel that one. Jazzy with the Bastion as well. Had the tank form towards the end there, himself getting shut down. Let's take a look at that final engagement, or getting towards that final engagement, rather.
This is a very long rotation once again. You actually see the nano boost did come out.
Oh, I think this is where Panty dies. That's right.
That'll be what it was. Yeah, it just wasn't with the team in the rotation at all, unfortunately.
And then straight after that, Rocket did find himself in the middle of a fully charged up KIX team. And again, I have to say, you know, the way I describe this is KIX kind of delivering that defense over, because the one ultimate that probably would have won them the team fight in the middle of the team fight, when both teams throwing out Gravitons, throwing out the Earth Shatters and all of that, the EMP would have just completely stopped up Giant LYNX's game plan. So KIX not without their own blunders.
Renamed to Uber Wins. We deliver victories right to your door.
The only KIX right now is them kicking themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
If that's even possible.
Well, I'm getting a kick out of this, so.
You use the same foot to kick your foot. The same foot kicking the same foot.
The thing I'm getting a kick out of is the fact that they're playing a Bastion bunker comp here. We've seen this come out on Hanamura sparingly, so like to see how Giant LYNX address. They do not have much time to work with here.
Yeah, but they are going to go back to spawn because you only have one shot at this. They want to make sure that one shot is going to be the one that gets them the cap.
Anyone
you
else
do see Sergeant Gold, the Symmetra. The Symmetra does tell you they want to teleport straight on top of the point.
It's absolutely how they should do this. Oh, the halts there. They are going to rotate onto the point. Nice biotic grenade out of panties to keep people largely topped off. Not enough to save Bombarapa, though. There's still a firing line available for Jazzy, and Giant LYNX is still actually struggling a bit to get onto this point. Need to get some good damage out. The turrets here are going to help a little bit. They need to get some kills. They need to get some presence. Antibiotic grenade out from Sheng Jianbao. He does die. That's that anti-heal was enough to help them secure Tongue, and now it's starting to look really, really rough. That's the thing, Arbao's got the mobility to just ignore all of this. Even if they're hiding from Jazzy and he's only getting a couple of shots in, you've still got enough more mobile playmakers here on the side of KIX that they're getting just enough done. Giant LYNX, even with these more mobile heroes, not going to be able to get back onto the point, unfortunately. That's going to be the full hold of the time bank.
That was actually 4 kills for Arbao, the Lucio player, in the middle of that fight. But more importantly, kind of just dissecting the Symmetra play here. But it's all good to get your team on top of the point. What happens after that is a real issue, and it starts to be exposed where, what does Symmetra really give you after you get on top of the point? Yeah, you got a laser beam here, but you're no Zarya, you don't have the bubbles, you don't have the same kind of insane damage output. It's going to take a while for you to stick onto the same target. A lot of shields to go through. There's still a Bastion on high ground that has a line of sight onto the point itself. You still don't have a way to really contest the Bastion. So yeah, you're on the point, but you have no ability to actually cap it.
And it's a little unfortunate as well. KIX did a decent job of taking advantage of the situation, you'd have to say, and now 446 to just capture a third of point A. You'd say things looking pretty good. Best case scenario here for Giant LYNX is they full hold, take it to a draw, and that is still technically a series loss. So that reverse sweep dream is now officially dead. You still want to at least get a draw here. You do want to start having some kind of a moral turnaround, even if you can't actually take back the series from this point.
It's the consolation prize that is still something for Giant LYNX to claim here. It's that or go home with nothing. And you know which one you'd rather prefer. 4 minutes and 46, you'd have to say, should be an almost impossible amount of time to not be able to get one tick. And KIX certainly do have the time to try to kind of experiment here, which is exactly what the Symmetra's out here to do.
Symmetra and Mei, they're going to go for a similar teleporter strategy here. This pressure on Sheng Jianbao is good. A couple of members get across, a couple of them don't. Casper has to take the long walk. He does get to Ice Cube up and a wall, so he's actually made the rotation.
Oh, wow, there we go.
Inside that wall, Giant LYNX were actually split into a 4 versus 6 because of the positioning of the wall. That is absolutely uncanny that worked, that didn't get punished. Half the team not making it through that teleporter should have been a death knell. Instead, KIX walked through to the most bizarre kind of triumph. That's now 3-0 in the series.
Yeah, it certainly is as well. You see towards the end there, look, the Symmetra ended up being decent-ish for KIX. It was much better than the other version because, well, I mean, you have a completely split-off Giant LYNX team who got cut off by a wall. Easy targets for Symmetra as well. You don't have a Bastion shooting at you. It's just a bit of a far cry there. But what you do eventually do see here is a 3-0. Even KIX winning with that Symmetra comp is a bit of a statement considering how handedly Giant LYNX lost with pretty much the same comp.
And this is starting to feel like a very bizarre, almost topsy-turvy kind of series. Like, a part of me is still genuinely surprised at how things have gone. And again, this isn't to discredit KIX necessarily, but it's more you're looking at the experience that Giant LYNX do actually have coming into this. Look, we can talk about how they've struggled in terms of actual results in the past, and that is all fair, that is all valid, but there's still just an inherent level of experience you get from playing in Contenders. And that just doesn't seem to be present anymore. They've had much better showing against much tougher teams, and this feels really bizarre.
Yeah, it's not even just pure game time played, it's who you played against. It's the fact that you've played against, in this region, the top teams in this region now for, you know, seasons in a row. Some of these players go back even further than just Season 3. You mentioned Bazaar, but let's also talk about the team called Bazaar from Season 1. A lot of these members came from that team. They've had multiple seasons worth of experience in Contenders, and to sort of go down in this way, it's not even like it was, let's be honest, Hanamura was a lot more competitive, but towards the end there, if KIX just want to run a Symmetra to stall on you, that's again, a very big statement to make from one of the teams. Let's go ahead, though, and get ready for our fourth and final map in series that will take place on Escort. So let's go ahead and find out how Escort works.
Welcome to Watchpoint Gibraltar. This is Escort. 2 teams face off as either defenders or attackers. This is the payload. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to escort the payload along a set path containing 3 checkpoints. The payload only moves forward when an attacker stands near it. Defenders can delay the payload's movement by standing nearby at the same time. To get moving again, attackers must clear away the defenders by force. Every time the payload reaches a checkpoint, the attackers score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. If even one attacker is near the payload when the clock runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until the attackers are either cleared off the payload or they gain more time by reaching a checkpoint. The round ends when the payload reaches the destination or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points and escorts the payload farthest wins.
And our escort map of choice for this week, of course, is Junkertown. That's where we're going to be going. And I'm going to be honest, given what we've just seen on Hanamura, both of these teams' willingness to experiment, Junkertown does bring up a sense of excitement in me. It is the map where we still see a chunk of pirate ship. It's a map where I feel like a lot of things can potentially happen. And I mean, hey, Symmetra May again? I don't know.
It's also the map where if you're KIX right now, you don't have a lot to lose. I mean, obviously, you want to get a 4-0.
You just KIX back and relax?
You certainly do want to get the most amount of map wins as possible, but it's also where if there was ever a time to maybe, I don't know, flex on the team again, flex on your opposition again, this would probably be the place to do it for Giant Lynx. In a similar scenario where obviously this one map will make a difference in the long run, where if you do pick up a couple of the wins, you do want to look at the map differential. But right now, if you've already lost the series, if you want to do something crazy to try and get that last win, this might be the place.
Yeah. If it's stupid and it works, then it ain't stupid. That's how the saying goes.
No, it's stupid and it works.
Yeah, it's actually just both is the truth of it. I think the other thing that's surprising about this with Giant Lynx is, like, we talk about how it feels like it takes, you know, it takes the better parts of 2 teams and puts them into something new. And we'd like to say that there should be a lot of potential there, but it also takes the better part of both of those teams' names and creates a much better name for it. Because Giant Esports, decent name, not gonna lie, cool. Lynx TH, of course standing for Thailand. Yeah, decent name, but Giant Lynx is terrifying. It's a giant lynx.
I think TH Esports would be quite intimidating as well. It's just the all of Thailand esports, you know.
That's what that shortens to.
Yeah, I know, but it represents Thailand esports. It'd be
a lot of X's, I've noticed. A lot of X's in this season of Contenders. Because we've got KIX, we've got Xavier, and we've got Lynx. I don't know how many teams have the letter X in
That's it. You've actually just named all of them now.
But that's still 3 out of 8. That seems like a high proportion of a letter that by right should be a low occurring letter. I wonder what the proportion is.
You know what else there's a lot of? There's a lot of esports.
Lots of esports in this mini esports tournament. A lot of esports. Call it Junkertown because it's made out of junk and it is a town. That was in my calendar of forgotten.
There's also junkers that live in the town.
Yeah, and they call them that because of all the junk that they live in. It's like a chicken and egg situation. What came first, the junk or the junkers? Answer is probably the junk, knowing Australia.
And knowing KIX, it's not time to go too crazy yet. Xing Jingbao back on the Sombra. Really close hold though, they're expecting a pirate ship.
Someone commit to Ash, cowards. Sergeant God's gonna get absolutely necked the moment he walks out of base. So is Panties. And KIX know this won't work twice. They do back up a bit.
Like Giant Lynx, this shouldn't even have really worked once. I mean, Giant didn't check their corners. That's a little bit strange. They just did not even expect. When you look out the windows, if you don't see a defense, where is the defense? It's right at your door.
It's like when you walk into a room and someone jumps up behind you and goes boo.
They're not even hiding. KIX are not taking any cover. They're just spamming in the doorways, and Giants are just taking it.
There we go. Now they're going to move up to the payloads. Now they've done all their swapping, and KIX are rightly going to start backing up. And, oh, there we go. The sleep allows them to secure Wusik. For a second, I was worried that he was going to get out, and KIX were going to go unpunished for that.
And this is where Giant should be able to get a decent amount of progress. Rusik has got a decent run back distance, so it's going to be 5v6 for some time. The bigger question is, what did Giant LYNX do with the 5v6 while it's available?
Well, I suppose they slowly move the payload forward. It's really what seems to be on the cards for them. This KIX just trying to set up a kind of firing point here.
Grabs in.
Yeah, and they should be able to follow this up. They got Rusik in position. Panties is down. Bellows down as well. That's going to be Sage and God, Rod Chung. And suddenly without that tank presence, I mean, it just all falls apart for Giant LYNX, who hadn't really got much progress on the card anyway.
You see the spamming location as well. Bravolev's just standing on the high ground as the card is slowly moving past him, raining down left clicks, right clicks, middle clicks even. That doesn't do anything in this game. But that's,
I mean, you might as well. It's an extra button. Just click it, man.
That's part of it. I mean, he can spam the other click too because he got the grab. The point is, he got a grab so quick, Giant not prepared.
Now it's going to be a shatter that comes out. It's not too big, but against Rod, Chung, and Bellow, they're able to finish off Rocket actually on the back line here. Now Giant LYNX trying to push in with a counter-offensive, but Sage and God just ends up isolated and picked off, and they're not actually making any headway again. It's an Earth Shatter out of Rod Chung, but it is a very lackluster one. He is going to quickly meet an end after that. And absolutely no blood drawn in favor of Giant LYNX in that fight.
And guess what? Bravolev has another grab now. That's number 2. Bumburapa has number 1, so that's a full lap. We talk about this being a bit of a race. Well, KIX is just kind of dancing around Giant LYNX. They're not even running anymore. Like Giant LYNX kind of crawling at this stage.
I mean, KIX have actually won the race. Like, they're just kind of on a victory lap here.
Are they KIXing their opponents into the ground while they're already down?
It's like Giant LYNX haven't realized that the race is over. They've still got like, oh yeah, come on. KIX are just cruising.
I do want to see, though, Giant LYNX, they have something to play with. Can they pull the trigger first here? Because they certainly do need to.
Double grab. So they did technically pull the trigger first. Sage and God, that is a very peculiar place to lay your self-destruct in the middle of your own team. You actually ideally want to put that in the middle of the enemy team because that's where it's more likely to get kills. Rod Chung, speaking of kills, is killed once again. And Giant LYNX are just going to have to go into full retreat. Bumburapa is not going to successfully retreat. This is not going to be a Dunkirk situation. Giant LYNX again reset with less than a minute to go.
And so quickly, those 3 initial minutes just disappear off the clock. Carter's like roughly 50% of the way through right now. KIX have an EMP. With the EMP, they can charge back into the grab and the shatter. And for Giant LYNX, they have to be able to survive this, but they do not have Transcendence. They just have Sound Barrier. Rocket's got to make a big play.
There it is. There's the EMP. It gets all but Sage and God. Rod Chung is down. That's a nice Earth Shatter layered on top of it to help them secure these kills. Once again, very few of these members are going to be able to retreat. Rocket within inches of that spawn. Indeed, no one's actually going to be able to retreat and a stagger on Sage and God.
And can I just point out very quickly as well, Xinjiang Bao actually got stunned there. Bello got a shield bash. Xinjiang Bao didn't die. He then used the EMP, then died, but caught just about everyone in it. So, I mean, it's like he didn't even get stunned.
Yeah, like if you don't punish with such a golden opportunity, what are you even doing? Sound Barrier and Earth Shatter out to try and get a leg up in this fight. They all just sort of stuck up in the grab for now, can't do too much. Now they try and get, again, on the aggressive, but KIX are just kind of outflanking in every sense of the word. Rod Chung surrounded, goes down. The shadow wasn't too impressive from Wusik, but it doesn't need to be. They're just muscling through these kills one by one. They're isolating a member and finishing them off. They've got the focus fire that Giant LYNX are lacking and have lacked the entire series long. That is not a lot of progress on that payload for Giant LYNX, and KIX barely need to march it around some bends. That's really rough.
Celebration EMP into a celebration Sound Barrier there, just a little bit more insult into injury.
A lot of celebration.
It is, and there's a lot to be celebrated because you're 3-0 into the lead, then you've completed yet another full hold on an A point. Second look again, I believe this might be where Xinjiang Bao got stunned, possibly.
Yeah, you see it just, this is indeed the one.
Yeah, so there he is.
Yeah, so get stunned here. That's also the display.
He really should go down.
Bumburapa is right there as well. Like, there is, yeah, Rod Chung is facing the other way, I suppose, but there's no excuse. Like, that's the only window you need against a Sombra. I mean, if nothing else, the Sombra should feel threatened enough that they need to translocate away when they get the opportunity, not feel safe enough to stick around and get an EMP out. It's really rough.
And
really,
I mean,
really
it's just where the punish is, the confidence to stick around and say, yeah, the EMP is definitely happening, to say, I don't think I'm going down here, and that's basically what happened. He did eventually go down, but look, the EMP was already used, so KIX just used that to win the fight. They're gonna now roll through with a Bastion pirate ship, and I want to say, for this comp, This is very punishing for a team that cannot deal with it. And I am concerned about Giant Lynx's ability to deal with this. Now, what they should be looking for is the same sort of aggressive hold that KIX were doing. If you can, start at the opponent's entry, start at their spawn location. You can cash them out. That's one way to just get the Bastion out of the way.
Getting the Bastion on the payload, if that's not an option to them.
If you can't do that, then you still need to play the corners. This first corner on that bridge in front, not when they're standing the bridge in front of them, they need to hide around there and then dive on top of the Bastion. If they can't do that, it's going to be a one and done from KIX. Positioning is good so far.
This is on the
payload.
Spotted out. Big wraparound from Giant Lynx, and I mean, they're on the wrong side of the fight. They're gonna have to make another rotation. This is free fight for the Bastion. This is absolutely disgusting.
Okay.
When's lunch? And I mean, this is gonna be a pretty clean sweep at this point. Like Giant Lynx, they really dropped the ball there. Misplayed a lot of those timings. Bumbarah for the last man standing in the fight. I always find that glowing rectangle feels a little bit like the outline of a corpse at a crime scene. The only difference is you actually want to return to the scene of a crime and put a body back in it. That's what KIX are on the cusp of doing here. Dragon Strike across just to force these members. I mean, that's how...
He's shooting it to his own spawn.
Yeah, that's how bass-ackwards the positioning has become in these fights with the weird rotations coming out of Giant Lynx. I mean, it's no surprise that KIX got that over the line there. It's still a bit of a heartbreaker for Giant Lynx, but... Well, them's the breaks.
2 points. First of all, Matt, it's 1:30 a.m. It's not time for lunch. Second point is...
Right, sorry. I get so confused.
You're on a different time.
Because it's like 1:30, but it's the wrong kind.
Is it PM or AM? I'm just
hungry.
The second point is it's one of those plays where you think you're being very sneaky, but actually Xinjiang Bao's already got a sonic arrow, and they're just watching you make the rotation like... We know exactly where you are.
It's like if you've ever lived in a house that has small children and they think that when you're playing hide and seek and you see the feet under the curtains.
Yeah,
it's like that. That's what it, they're trying to steal something from a cupboard and it's just so they drag a chair over and you're just watching them.
Look, there's few things in the world that you hate to see. One of them is Los Angeles Valiant at 0-6. The other one is when you're making a rotation and you're completely spotted out the entire way. Look, that's just...
That was just so uncalled for.
It's rough. Look, I'm sorry. They're going to go winless this stage. 0-7. They're going 0-7, Mark.
It's just completely out
I'm
of
sorry.
nowhere.
They suck right now. What do you want? That's the truth. I'm not lying.
No, you're not wrong.
They're the 20th team. What do you want?
I wasn't expecting that at all.
People thought... What did people think? Washington was going to be 20th? No, it's Valiant.
I'm just waiting for people, because I love that this has become a meme. I'm just waiting for people to start turning up to Los Angeles Valiant matches with Wenger out signs. That just seems to pop up. It was from a football thing. It was like a coach of a team, and people wanted him gone. And then now that he's gone, already people are like, nope, Wenger back in, please. So. But it just became a thing, at various... You'd see it at esports events, all around the world. People would turn up with signs saying, Wenger out.
Yeah. I'll be honest, though. Giant Lynx are also going 0-7, so LA Valiant won't be alone in that regard.
Blood brothers.
No, I don't want to be too... Look, but that was... it's a rough match because you do have, to reiterate, greater expectations for a team that has Contenders experience. KIX, 0 Contenders experience. Jazzy, the only member... coming from LGD in China that does have some of that experience, but the rest of the team, you got to go back to the results here. Top 8 in open division, not top 4, not top 6, top 8 in open division. That was their best result coming into Contenders. They just took down a Contenders team.
The thing that feels heartbreaking about that is I'm not even sure how much I should really celebrate KIX's success here, and I feel mean saying that. But the reason I say that is, we were talking about this sort of stuff all series long. One half of what went wrong for Giant Lynx there was their own gameplay, their own internal issues, things that weren't going right in execution, in game plan. The other thing that was going wrong is a complete and utter failure to realistically punish KIX for every single thing KIX chose to do. Yeah. That's not going to fly against most of the teams in this tournament. Indeed, it's already not flown against Talon, so KIX, cool, you beat a Contenders team. But I don't know that those same things are going to work against other teams, and it feels bad to look at a team that won and still not feel that confident.
Well, that's why we say this was going to be the most winnable, match for either team. Either team in this case happened to be KIX. So a lot more questions ahead of us in the following weeks to see if KIX can maybe keep the sort of momentum up. Can they then make that jump between 6th place rather 7th
KIX
place
place
to 6th place into the KIX place, and what are Giant Lynx going to do from here on out? But we do have one more match to close out week number 2. Coming up after the break is going to be Xavier versus Jupiter, so don't go anywhere. Come back right after this break.